again, picking up where we last left off, as our party has finally managed to produce satisfactory results to themselves and, well, to their own uses, what seemed to have been a final end to their quest. Finally procuring what seems to be, or at least what is hoped to be, a medication or a cure for whatever is ailing Lord Brokenridge, their humble patron to the far south. Upon doing so, they met with an estranged entity in the forest or in the Amber Forest. A creature endowed into a tree and imprisoned, bound there by some sort of entity or power from whatever created this forest. In doing so, managing to lull the party into its clutches and trying to convince them to perhaps allow it access to their skills in freeing it, or perhaps even allowing it free rein. Managing to resist the effects of its rather charming smile, our party has managed to make their way out, but were once again met by another interesting creature, but one they're familiar with, a friend, or one that seemed to have been blessed with a friendly face. An ent named Vonanum. After stopping them for a few moments and offering them a hand of friendliness and a bright smile, telling them that their guide, Arnott, is to remain in the forest after the prince had requested it. We pick up just as the party is once again standing before this portal, one made of beautiful vine and long-standing flower that was just created from some sort of innate druidic powers by Vonanum himself. What we pick up there is the portal in front of you is pulsing a very faint whitish blue, almost like a drop of water hitting into a pool, and it spirals out very perfectly. But we pick up there. The floor is yours. What do you wish to do?
Well, I believe where we last left platform was we also came to the realization that our guy is not going to be staying with us for much longer, and I believe we finished making our pieces with him.
Do as you wish.
I believe after speaking, he kind of looks back to Narum, like, well, we shouldn't keep the prince waiting any longer, do we?
Arnott gives a kind of a half smile and shakes his head. No, it wouldn't be as too wise. The prince is a very, well, he's level-headed, but he can be a bit picky on timing.
Well, that, and he's also kind of, his brother-in-law's also kind of dying, so...
The
Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong person.
Yeah, about to say.
Brother-in-law, excuse me?
Well, we don't know. Maybe
Let's just go.
Yeah,
I just immediately bonks his head against the ent's leg, and then just being like, "Oh, sorry."
Rowan takes a piece of bread and nibbles on it to keep him from saying anything too brash.
Let us head off. Next time we speak to the prince of this realm, and hopefully have back to deliver the medicine. And with that, Volus does step through the portal.
Alright. You all watch as Volus takes the first few steps through and disappears, embraced by a shining white light. Dull, but still, the moment you look at it, it's almost like a camera flash. It blinds you for a second.
Clyde's gonna cannonball through, just being like, "Geronimo!"
Clyde, you duck your head and just jump your way through.
Is there any other way to do it? I think not.
Naren's just gonna like walk through it as if he was freaking hurried. Like the weird power walk that people do when they're late but they don't want to run.
Yes.
He's just gonna do that through the portal. Faster we get this done, the faster we can go.
All right. Zorm is quickly following you, and upon doing so, you all eventually find yourselves crossing ways through a very interesting collage of colors. The sensation is different from that of when you first entered through the corrupted gate. This feels as though you're being lifted by a bunch of fairies with small wings. Their wings kind of flutter against your skin and it tickles you a little bit. It doesn't feel like you're being pulled through molasses or any sort of jelly. It's a smooth transition, one like you're just walking through a doorway. And there's a faint smell of roses with a mixture of poppy. You can't help but smile. In doing so, as you finally cross the threshold, the gate finally releases you. Upon doing so, you find yourselves once again standing upon a cold breath of air, and it makes you shiver as the breeze brushes past you, and you see you're once again to the icy fields to the north. Not anywhere in sight do you see any twisted or corrupted tree, any vegetation belaying that of some sort of, well, crystalline blackness. It seems you've been released in a rather safe area, even if it is a bit cold.
There's a bit of a look of confusion in both of they kind of gaze around. Were they still? He's trying to look to see if they were still in the Bay Area.
No, you guys are no longer in the Amber Forest. You guys are now out. As you
Yeah.
look behind you, the portal, there is no outside. There was a one-way portal.
Just see Velez's lips thin a bit, and then curse to himself because he was supposed to ask something. Well, shit. Well, Nairn, so much for that idea.
Maybe you'll get another chance.
True. We still know where the entrance is, at least. At least with the help of our guide, but let's see, we're in the north, but can both try to do a check to see where they could potentially be on the map?
Checking to see. Go ahead and make me just a nature check.
19.
Mhm. Gathering from where you are and searching around that there's no area around you where you see any corruption. You're probably to the northwest, somewhere you aren't really familiar with. So you're somewhat close to Rivermouth.
Mm,
So if I
Yeah.
would mark it down for you, you'd be somewhere in this kind of area.
Well, we might be north of the forest. Kind of near what's this place called? Livermouth. We're near there, at least I think. And you just see like Wallace is trying to think a moment, like uh we should probably try to go around the forest back to Meren's Eve to try to get a ship. Now we should head up to Rivermouth to see if we find some form of transportation. Because I don't see any notable roads on the map, though.
If you would remember, I'll help you out a little bit here. When Lord Brokenridge or Lady Brokenridge told you when you accepted this, if you go to Rivermouth, you do have a chance of starting a war.
So that's a no-go.
The Count of Rivermouth is very, very mistrusting and, shall we say, biased towards his hate of Lord Brokenridge to the south. And that is what you've been warned about. If you go there and they don't know who you are, you have a very good chance of being able to just find transportation down south. But if you go there and are found out, you have a very good chance of starting a war.
Yeah, no, I don't think. Clyde, I don't think we want to risk running a full freaking war. So let's try to head back to the
I
mountain.
don't think so either. I don't.
Yeah, let's take the long route if it means that it's going to be safe.
We could try Matter's Eve, if not, we'll try to take the roadways from Dungannon.
I mean, we have to pass back through anyways.
Hmm.
'Cause
So let us-
don't we still have shit that we need to, pick up that we paid for?
Mm, If you don't mind me asking where.
I think in Dungannon, like Clyde had a commission for was it a flute?
Right, Clyde's thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Clyde had a
it was
flute, and I
flute.
had a longsword that was being that had a silver line,
Then,
like a lining to it.
then let's head quickly to Dungannon, get that picked up, and then let's see. Well, let's hope Matter's Eve has any ships ready.
Yeah, either we try to take back a ship from Mounds Eve, or the only other way we'd really have is going to Feldrake and trying to take the land route.
Remember,
Right.
Marin's Eve is a fisherman's village. Doesn't have any ships. The
That's
only
the
time
thing.
there's a ship, the only ships that come by are the ones that are on their are the ones rounding the causeway to then go northward towards the Kelleran Sea.
Yeah, it doesn't
and
have a
then exit
dedicated
into the
port. It's
Dolphin.
basically just like just a village out there in the sticks.
Then we might have to go to Feldrake and ferry a cart down to White Ridge. We pick up my cart, and then we'll do our same tactic of going down to Port Ivy. Does that sound well?
Sounds like a plan.
Hmm.
Best thing we
And
got.
I guess they're going to head, assuming they're around here, they're going to just take the upper route to get to this road down towards Duncannon.
Okay. You guys will run past the usual points of corruption that you passed by earlier, but knowing what you know now, you have an easier chance of avoiding it.
Yay.
Hooray.
Oh,
So, upon doing so, well, you're also somewhat familiar with the order of protectors or clerics that preside around the northern edge. So, you do have an idea as to where you're safe and where you're not safe. So, sticking to the ice fields where you're more likely to run into a dead orc corpse than you are to run into a corrupted fae is probably the easier way to go. So, upon doing so, it'll take you guys just about from where you are. You won't be slowed by any real hazardous terrain. The snow here is relatively thin. It's only maybe about, 2-3 inches thick. The snow's pretty thin. And there's no vegetation to slow you down because it is quite literally, or it's an ice field, but not really.
It's
So,
a snow plane at
yeah,
best.
it's a snow plain, but people call it an ice field.
No, there's one thing I regretted. Klein, I bet you say the same.
And that is.
Probably should have asked our nth friend if there was other ways to get into that forest without having to go through the trouble. But when
Sure, we'll
we
find it if we need it.
true.
When there's a will, there's a way, and forests
Zoram,
have a natural knack to just pull you in.
Zoram butts in here. I would rather agree with Clyde here. The idea is, if there's a forest this large, I don't think all the gates can be corrupted. Again, as Clyde said as well, where there's a will, there's a way.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I wonder how. I wonder how long it's been since we've been to Duncanum. You think they're made by now?
I mean, they
Been,
said a few days. We were only gone for like 2 days, so that might be done. You know, Clyde going off the time they had in the Feywild.
You aren't really familiar with what time is. You're not sure, because timing is a bit funky in the Everforest.
Oh, I think what Klein meant is like in our own thought process.
In like
we
their
thought
own
it was
perception of time, they were only gone for like 2-3 days.
I get it.
They said that it would take 2-3 days for all their commissions to be done, so generally speaking, they should be theoretically done.
Should be theoretically.
Yes.
All right. So, excuse me. In doing so, as you stick mainly towards the ice fields to the north, you don't run into anything. Every once in a while, you do feel the presence of some sort of eyes staring at you from nowhere. And you hear a familiar kind of childish giggle. You kind of have an idea as to who's watching over you.
And who is that?
It's the invisible snow person that
Oh,
It's
right,
the-
right.
It's the elf,
Right.
the very pale elf that met you guys. Well, actually, no. There's two. There's the pale elf, and then there's the albino tiefling. You guys ran into the albino tiefling. You guys haven't run into the elf. So, it's the tiefling. The usual mistrust from Rowan as he's trying to keep an eye out for this nefarious, infernal creature.
Yeah, accompanied by the usual smack to the head from Narum.
He's keeping an eye out, like, there's someone watching us. And you just go over, bam, and just smack him across the back of the head. It's,
already gone through
Dick.
this, Rowan.
They are demons and devils.
Every
You will not change my
goddamn
mind on
fucking
this.
time with you.
Yes,
What,
and you will have to put up
Clyde?
with it every other time as well.
Clyde's just gonna go over to Rowan, like, you know, just like gently being like, hey, you know what? Maybe you're a demon spawn and you don't even know it. Have your eyes been going at night?
And he looks at you and squints. He tears a piece of bread off and nibbles on it.
Damn,
For all you know, you have demon blood running through your veins right now.
Oh Lord, Clyde, I think we get it. We don't want to inflict them with some type of PTSD or something.
Oh, come on. Like, if I didn't know any better, we could probably all be demons.
Don't put that in his head.
You know,
Rowan
he's
looks
got a
over
point.
at you
I
and just
mean-
kind of puts a hand on the dagger. Kind of cuts his hand a little bit. It's like, it's human.
Hmm?
That's human and elf blood there. Shows his hand to you. You see red blood coming out of his hand.
Well, who says that
That's-
demons don't
that's
bleed
blood.
red?
Yeah.
Oh, they don't. Demons bleed ichor.
You sure?
So do you. You're bleeding ichor right now.
He looks at you and looks at his hand and looks at you. And looks at his hand and looks at you.
Anything bleeds if you stab it enough.
Come on, are we really gaslighting Rowan into believing that everyone's a demon?
You say that. You say that. He points his dagger at you and motions you over, Phyllis.
What are you
One
saying?
second.
What? You see, Ball is just like remaining where he is, like generally confused.
I think Rowan wants to test if we all bleed.
Clyde
Sicko.
would look to Rowan being like, you know I bleed. You know damn well I bleed.
Hello? Okay. Rowan, you've seen me bleed how many times already?
Looks at all of you and that could have been an illusion. Come here.
What do you
You're
mean?
an illusion.
Come here.
Rowan, do you listen to yourself?
Yes, I do. When I sound
Yes.
quite intrigued.
Yes, you also sound like a psychopath.
Okay. Well,
But I know I'm a psychopath, and you know I'm a psychopath, so I can't be a psychopath if I know I'm going insane. I know I'm crazy. And if I know I'm crazy, that means I'm sane, because if you know you're going crazy, you can't be crazy.
Nerv just
What?
looks over to Balance. Like, and Indraconic just goes, I think he needs a therapist. And I think that therapist also needs a therapist.
Don't
Wallace
have
just goes
those
into his satchel
illusions.
and takes out one of his ration breads and just throws it at Rowan.
Rowan takes it. Your tribute dissuades my intentions for long enough. He nibbles all the bread and turns around and starts walking.
I gotta keep an eye on him.
Let us just head to Duncanon already. We don't need to stab each other just because there's nothing here to stab already.
That's what you think. Clyde says jokingly.
Nerv looks over at Clyde and just goes, I'm not gonna, you know what, I'm not pursuing this, I'm not gonna ask.
You and your
You know,
honey
if,
words.
if that's your thing, that's your thing, but come on, really?
But
Clyde, keep your antics to your own chambers. And then Wallace just walks off, just continuing to Duncan.
yeah.
It takes you guys just about 3 or so days to actually make your way across the northern ice fields to Dunganon. Doing so, you do have to travel through some of the twisted and corrupted forests, but not as much as it previously was.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have to wade through hundreds of corrupted elves again.
That we know of.
That you know of, yeah. But upon doing so, you eventually get to the edge, or the visible edge of the town. And you are kind of hailed by what looks to be an old man. The same kind of guard you ran into the last time. Hello there!
Clyde just kind of like waves.
Sorry, you cut out completely there, Grape.
Yeah.
How am I doing now?
You sound better.
Okay. As you can see, has a small spear to his side, dressed in a kind of a shoddy chainmail, bits of pauldron here and there with strips of leather. The old man, the last time you saw him, he looked like an old man. Still looks like an old man.
Mhm.
You aren't who that we gotta scare off now, are you?
Heh.
What you talking about? Where?
Oh, you weren't that, never mind, you're not that weird-looking one. Come on in.
Oh,
Weird looking. Eh?
he's talking about the He kind of just whispers over to Clyde. Our farmer guide, Clyde.
Oh.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
As Clyde leads over to talk to you, Willis, you're like, the arbiter was like, okay. And Clyde just looks over and sneezes on you. Just,
No, that wasn't meant to be.
Clyde, why?
He's not.
God.
I just kind of like apologize, like taking out a handkerchief and just kind of like start to like dab whatever snot may have gotten onto Volus, being like, I'm so sorry. Just like
You're
proceeds to
lucky
like
you
start gently dabbing all of the snot off of him.
Glad you're lucky you're my friend, or else I would have dropped you by now.
It's
Let's just go inside and
fine.
pick up our things. I believe I still had a dagger here that I needed to pick
Oh,
up
yeah,
as well.
you got a dagger made out of that, like very enchantable stone
metal.
material. Yeah,
That's stone metal, yeah.
yeah. You need to go pick
Yeah.
that up. Nerem's gonna pick up the longsword that he ordered, and then
Until I need.
Clyde needs his flute.
I'm getting my flute.
And I guess we all went to our individual shops too.
Why do I
Yes.
have the really bad feeling that Ronan is gonna rob a fucking bakery again?
Because he will.
He's not gonna rob it. He's
Well,
going to
you know what I
persuade
mean.
them
He's not
to
going to
give it to
rob it in terms of like committing a felony. No, he's just going to go in there. He's going to buy the entire fucking store out, and he's going to leave everyone else robbed of bread.
Why not?
It's not
So
a felony if the
natural
law
random
isn't passed down
things.
yet.
Well, upon doing so, as you spread your ways out through the town, you once again find yourselves embraced by the craggy and unstraight lines of human, or at least humans' works instead of the natural, well, beauty of nature. The twisted and rather broken down walls and thatch roofs, the sooty taste to the air from the blacksmiths and their forges. Smells like home. Smells like home. Upon doing so, Niram, you manage to make your way over to your blacksmith, the somewhat short dwarf, rather stout barrel chest, long beard, and looks up at you.
The dwarf?
Oh,
Wait. Wasn't... No, I'm
you
probably
had a dwarf and a
misremembering.
human. You had a dwarf
I
and a human.
was misremembering. I thought I was talking to an orc, but that was probably before. That was for
the
Valis'
half
order,
orc.
right?
You know, the half orc was the Goliath was Volus. You're talking about the somewhat human looking orc. The half orc you talked to.
Oh,
That
yeah.
one's not there today. You're talking to the dwarf he was working.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense then. But yeah, Naram's just gonna go up to them.
Finally back, are you?
Yeah, it's been stressful. I trust you've been
Well,
doing
I
well.
can tell your scales are looking a bit grey.
Don't remind me.
All right. Believe we still have your order on hand here. Haven't been too long since we finished it.
It's good to hear. Do I still owe you anything?
Well, you already paid the first half. Second half, you'll just need to finish it off. It's another, I believe, you're just missing about 7 gold pieces there.
It's easily done. He's just gonna plonk down 10.
Plunk down the 10. The dwarf looks at it, takes it, and you are handed a very finely made longsword in a very rudimentary scabbard. The sword itself, as you pull it out, gleams like a silver, and it's from a distance or even up close. If somebody wasn't really sure of a blade, you could definitely fool somebody that this was a silver blade.
Well, as long as it serves its purpose, it doesn't need to be full silver.
The longsword itself does not have anything really special to it, no enchantments really, but it is innately magical. So your attacks do magical damage with this longsword.
Well, isn't that lovely?
Oh, those pesky resistances.
Yes. Yes, I was actually thinking about that today. Like, wouldn't it be nice to have something that isn't blocked by like half of the creatures we're going to encounter soon?
In doing so, eventually the half-orc does come out to meet you again. You see the long, jut-out bottom part of the jaw and 2 small tusks that come out. The palish gray-green skin. Oh, you're finally back. Wondering when you would.
Yeah, our business has been strenuous, and he's gonna try his best to hold this conversation in his barely conversational Orcish.
Do see the half-orc kind of brings up a finger and kind of digs it into his ear for a second. And he responds in Orcish. You really need to work on that.
Yeah, I've been trying, but sadly haven't had too much a chance.
Most orcs don't speak half as well as you do, so consider it a compliment.
You see a smile, like a slight smile, creep on Nerm's face. Thank you for that. Do I have to say, really impressed with your handiwork? And you just like that sentence is in common, so everyone at the forge understands.
The dwarf kind of looks proud of himself a little bit. You half-orc nods. Well, when you're given good materials, you learn how to work it really well, so... Anyway, I got some more work I gotta get into.
Yeah, I wish you the best of... I guess the best of luck with that. Though I don't know if you need luck.
You don't need luck when you need skill. And he waves you off and returns back into the shop. You see as the dwarf goes back, and you see as he sits on a stool and he's currently threading a very thick hammer and nail. And it looks like he's plucking together bits and pieces of leather to form another scabbard.
Ooh.
And you see he's currently nailing the leather together, making sure that the divots are there.
Yeah, Nerm's gonna take his new blade and go to look for Valis.
Just taking the new blade with the initial idea, you take it out for a little while, hanging the new scabbard to your hip. Balancing the sword in your hand, it's fairly well weighted, actually. Very well made. The blade itself, as you kind of go over, you kind of add a little bit of force to it. It doesn't seem to bend, and doesn't seem brittle. So it seems like a good sword. You just put it back into your little scabbard and walk off for Volus. Volus, you're tagged along with Zoram. And once again, you return to the Goliath shop. The Goliath is currently hammering out with his giant hammer, currently what looks to be banging apart some sort of metal bar. It looks to be flattening it out for some sort of, well, you don't know what purpose it is. You've never really been to a forge. You just know he's hammering it out.
Once he enters the shop itself.
You kind of broke up there for a second. What?
He just said, "Greetings, there, friend."
Looks over at you. I was wondering when you might return. Doesn't take too long to make a dagger, so...
And you see there's a bit of a perplexed look on him. Well, it has been around 2 days. Guess it's makes sense.
Think more of, 4 or 5? Been away for a few bit longer than you think, huh?
I guess time flies once you're when you're venturing around. Anyways, the dagger's done, yes?
Been done.
All right. Mind if I take a look?
Goes over and retrieves it. There's no sheath to it, just a little dagger. Brings it out and kind of lays it across one of the little tables that he has available in the front of the shop. Dagger itself is pretty rudimentary. No curve to it, just a straight, almost tooth-like dagger. The hilt is a banded leather with bits and pieces of iron sticking through. The blade looks fine. The hilt and the guard could use a little bit of work. But other than that, the blade looks pristine.
Group, you cut off there.
Did I cut out again?
Yeah, you cut out completely.
And
Son
for
of a
me,
bitch.
Oh, jeez.
I told you, Discord's been having a real
Yeah,
rough issue.
Discord's been having a hissy fit today, apparently.
But as I was saying about the dagger itself, the blade is pristine. Very finely made. It doesn't have any curve to it or any sort of. It doesn't look like a curry knife, or it doesn't look like one of those Akiba blades. But you definitely see it's a straight, almost dragon tooth dagger. The hilt and the grip could definitely use some work. Those, they don't really look like they were made by a master smith. They look like somebody just kind of threw them together as an afterthought. But the blade itself is, again, pristine. Did I get that again?
Yeah.
No.
No, you didn't.
I was about to say, son of a bitch. Goliath looks at you as you're looking on the knife.
I see.
Oh, what do you think?
It looks finely made, actually.
Pride
Wait.
myself on my blades.
And that you do. Do I owe you anything, though? I do not remember if I paid you last time.
Say owe me 2 gold.
He simply just offers him the 2 gold and places it on the counter before taking the dagger.
You take the dagger. Dagger itself is pretty well weighted. Kind of swish it around. It's definitely something you can use. It's not unbalanced, and it's certainly something that's not exactly going to be a toothpick. So it looks like it'll do some damage.
Hmm.
And again, due to the metal that the blade is made out of, it is innately magical. There is no enchantment on it, but the blade does. Well, it is innately magical.
Is there a bit of a gaze? He just, of course, puts it away.
Come back if you ever need another blade.
I'll keep that in mind.
Goes back and starts hammering out this piece of bar or whatever it is. Zoran standing off to the side, still quiet, just watching this whole transaction.
Oh,
Sure.
out of any questions, do you happen to know if there's any cards near and it kind of just takes a moment to look to glance at his map. Do you think there's any cards that lead from Feldrich to the south by chance?
Goliath looks back to you and scratches the back of his neck. Oh, do you have any business in Feldrake?
Just a traveler wandering around. That'd be the closest big city.
Call it a city, all right.
I'm trying to remember. Is he the one that also said that Feldrich had that other type of metal?
He's the one that told you about it.
All
Seems he knows a thing or two about Feldrake.
Right. It was, if I recall, you explained to me that there was a other type of material there.
Black steel.
That black steel stuff, but worry not. I plan to use this dagger for a while. We just personally just looking for a cart to head down south. Just wonder if you knew any
Plenty of carts that are going from Feldrake south. It's how most of the south stays armed.
Ah, I see. I see. Well then, best be off. I wish you luck on your smithing and, well, fortune for the future.
He just waves you off.
At that, he goes to find Clyde and hopefully Rowan, if he's not mugging people.
Again.
He's not mugging anybody yet.
I feel like if someone's holding a piece of bread, he will pull out his dagger. It's just like, give me the bread. Give me the bread. Or something like that.
Remember, he's civil until somebody says he can't have it.
Okay, so he asks somebody, they say no, and then he pulls out the dagger. What's the difference?
No, he doesn't pull out the dagger. He just uses freaking vicious mockery constantly until they fall over.
Yeah, I mean, that
Fair.
works too. Just put that down in my notes.
Just starts insulting people.
All right. Clyde, eventually you return to the maker of your little flute. In doing so, you return, and you currently see the halfling that's tending to it. And in doing so, halfling looks over to you and gives you kind of a toothy smile and waves you. Am I counting out, or are you guys just being quiet?
Just being quiet. It's
Oh,
Uh,
I forgot. I didn't realize I was muted. Clyde looks over to the halfling and is just like, hello there, friend.
Just like your friggin' sister. All right.
Rude. You know, unlike her, I don't have an indicator to say if I'm muted or not. Ugh.
Well, with that, halfling. Yeah, I didn't really expect you to be this late, but better now than never.
How late have I been?
Oh, a few days. Only took me about 2 days to make it. About, say 4. Let's say it took you 4 days, so
You
say
were gone
about 2 days
4
late.
days?
Well,
How are
seems
we
like
gone
it.
4 days?
The halfling shrugs. Well, you see, the sun came up and went down, and came up and went down about 4 times while you were gone. So I guess and take it that it might just be 4 days.
Did
Because I only remember gone being 2, unless I've just been in a coma for 2 of them.
I'm sorry, I just heard water pour in the background, so I'm just hearing this happening. I thought he poured himself a glass or something.
Oh, I need a nail to deal with this one.
Halfway over this, like, well, you know what? Starts pouring a small cup of wine. Looks over, see Clyde coming in, just doubles the amount.
Mega pint of wine.
Yes, downing a mega pint of wine. Oh no, we can't say that, right? We can't say that. That's actually.
I mean, you
Yes,
could talk
it
about
is.
it as long as you're on fucking sloshed on stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But with that, the halfling pushes a very finely made little metal flute towards you, Clyde.
Clyde picks it up and looks it over. I'm pretty sure Clyde paid him already, though.
Yeah, you did. You don't need to pay him anymore. He's handing it to you.
Mm-hmm. Clyde would pick it up and you know, like, put his fingers on it and, like, give it, like, a test run, if that makes sense.
Sure, go ahead and give me a performance check.
And it's +5.
Rolls a 3.
Nat 20!
I stand corrected.
I'm just like, oh, hey,
Freaking does tricks on
let's
his loot.
use the dice set that I haven't used in the longest time, which is my Tiefling Red set. Nat
How
20.
appropriate for this.
You bring it up and you flash out a beautiful little flute solo.
If anything,
And-
Clyde's beatboxing on the flute.
Yes, beautiful rendition. The halfling just kind of sits there, a mixture of stunned, awed, and confused.
Ah, yes, perfect. What I want everyone to feel every time they even look at me.
I don't think I've heard somebody play a flute like that.
Clyde would kind of
ever.
like. Clyde would kind of like give it a little twirl in his hand afterwards, you know, like someone would like twirl a pencil in their hand and then
You
just
twirl it in
kind
your
of like,
hands, and it falls for a second. Just, shit! You have to catch it. It's like, I don't know what saw
excuse
that.
me, I got a nat 20 with a plus of 5.
Still have to knock you down a peg. I'm sorry.
Ah! Tis fine, tis fine. Clyde would then kind of like ask if there was a case for it.
Halfling just kind of reaches down below the large desk that they have outside, pulls out a relatively simple case, even for how ornate this little metal flute looks, and puts it down for you.
Mm-hmm. Clyde would thank this halfling and then proceed to give him another piece of gold, being like, thank you for the work and thank you for keeping it on hold.
Well, you want to change?
Nope. It's
All
okay.
right. He puts it into one of his pouches.
Take
And
care, my good sir.
He nods and kind of waves you off with a smile. Eventually, you run back into Niram and Volus. And to your
Alright,
surprise, you
sweet.
guys, the smell of bread fills the air.
Oh no. Clyde immediately gets like a sense of dread. Just being like, oh no.
You know, in that same second, instead of dread, the only thing Narum is feeling is a seething hatred.
I thought you were gonna say seething fear, and I would have been like, same.
In doing so, you guys look around and you see Rowan with a stack of what looks to be maybe about 12 loaves of bread. He's currently walking with them towering over his head, just kind of walking over to you guys.
All right. I'm less going to question why he has so much bread, and let us just start heading to Feldrake. Agreed?
Yep.
Okay. Great. I do have a question, and I'm
I
gonna
have an
grab
answer.
my pen. How long would it take to cross the river here and go through to Swinmore to Feldrake?
That's a good question. Would you like to find out?
Yes, I
I
do.
just heard Beth scream no in the background.
To do so, you would have to travel there because you have no experience in this area.
Hmm.
You'd have to go there and try and travel over this river yourself. And that is off-road. So, do you want to try and make your way over, or are you just going to take the road?
I guess at that point we might as well try to take the off-road. It's gonna save us a few days, just from the pure looks of it, unless something goes horribly, horribly wrong.
In which case it will, because it always does.
It always does.
You will DM giggle. So, following the map, you guys take off westward, at least southwest, across Dungannon. Traveling westward out of the small town, you guys do find what looks to be a large quarry site. And in a passing glance, you do see something look to have been, well, almost like a small ziggurat. Roughly shrine shaped, a small pyramid maybe only about 5 levels tall. Very basic and bland. The cold stone of it looks to be the same kind of silvered gray and white that you guys are kind of looking at with your new blades and your new flute. You do see bits and pieces of this ziggurat have actually been taken apart. And you see the quarry itself looks to be taking out pieces of this, or whatever this shrine might be. And you guys pass by it and not giving it another thought. Crossing your way through the... Oh, yes.
Voldemort likely would just commented, "Huh, you think that's where they're getting their stone from?" But other than that, he doesn't say much.
Zoran kind of looks over at you as you question that. I would rather wonder if a quarry would produce stone or not.
Well, obviously enough that this stone isn't your common stone, so it's just something to consider.
I suppose you already have. In doing so, traveling off-road in this area, I will have you guys actually go ahead and make me perception checks, those of you who are leading the expedition.
Ooh, fancy. I forget what my passive perception is.
Oh, this is more of keeping an eye out while you guys are traveling.
Perception +5. I got 17.
Indeed. On the first day, as you are traveling towards this river,
I got a 7.
all right, I'll just say Clyde does the second day then.
Mm-hmm.
Volus, you keep an eye out, and it's relatively easy to do. There aren't very many trees on this side of Dunganon. Most of them look to have been felled long ago. Not enough towards like deforestation, but it's definitely like in the making of this village, the trees have been cleared and they just haven't regrown for whatever reason. Leading down this it's a very gentle decline, but it's noticeable enough to where it's like, this is a bit easy to walk down. As you see, what looks to be maybe about another day or so's travel looks to be a stiff embankment of a river. Can't really tell from this distance how wide or deep the river is, but you can definitely tell it looks to be moving relatively quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And you do notice that, especially from this distance, there actually looks to be a small campsite. What looks to be, or not even a campsite, but looks to almost be an encampment. The encampment itself looks to be a relatively small one, maybe only about 6 or 7 bivouacs, surrounded by what looks to be a pretty half-hearted wall. Looks to be a small palisade made of thin trees and other bits and pieces of rock. On the outside of this encampment, you see there are a few figures outside. They look to be humanoid, and you do see some of them look to be fishing. A couple of fishing rods are currently pulled into the ground, and you see that they are currently residing on gathering food or whatever such activity they're doing. That is what you see as you keep watch over the day, and it slowly comes to an end, and you guys come to your own camp.
I'll be right back a moment.
Mm.
Apologies.
I understand. Over the night, Clyde kind of have trouble sleeping a little bit. But Zoram will take first watch.
I mean, yeah, there are constantly trees, with eyes in them. I feel like anyone would have a hard time, like staying awake or anything.
Adapting to being back outside where there aren't faces in the trees.
There are always faces in the trees. What do you mean? What do you mean, Grape?
As Zoram keeps a eye as the night progresses. Eventually, he goes over and kind of gently nudges you near him. That might be an issue.
Oh, what's up?
Well, it seems our friends down on the embankment, they haven't lit any fires. It looks like they're dark down there. I'm not sure, but I just wanted to keep you informed.
All right.
In doing so, he lets you get back to sleep and then goes over and nudges you, Volus, knowing that you only really need a trance for a few hours.
And what is it?
Time for you to take a watch. I'm going to bed. And he goes over and nuzzles himself into his own little sleeping bag.
Yeah, right.
Go
Most
ahead.
gets up. Oh,
Nice. I was going to say, go ahead and make me a perception check when you wish.
okay. 22.
22.
Would it be possible to just make some potions whilst I'm looking about?
What exactly are you looking for?
He's just keeping an eye on, make sure no one's, approaching.
Okay.
Or
I
just
just
getting
I just wanted an idea of what exactly you're just keeping a direct eye on.
Yeah, he
Fine.
just, as he's making stuff, he knows if he tries to use the book, which even he's starting to get hesitant on, he thought making potions would be a lot better and, well, less, I guess you could say, time constraining whilst it's cooking and stuff. But
Oh,
he
what
is
do you
like,
mean?
of course,
The book isn't too daunting. It's just a book. Come on. It's just a book. Why don't you open it up?
not this night. I know
A
he
few
has the two
pages.
books, but
A few pages, it wouldn't hurt. Why not? You're not in the Feywild anymore. Nothing's looking over your shoulder. It's
I shall
quiet.
not be tempted by your.
Oh, it's not the DM talking. This is something in your head.
Oh.
Yeah. And Volus starts realizing this is like, wait a minute. That's not a god in my head. Damn. Why am I talking to myself? You see how I pulled a little sneaky on you? Gotta keep you on your
Yes,
toes.
I see, and I don't like it.
Gotta keep you on your toes.
You always
By
gotta
keeping
assume Grape is up to something.
me? Why me? But keeping an eye out from what you can, you do notice that the encampment that you saw earlier, there's no light coming from it. None. Not even a campfire. Just nothing. It's dark. And you keep an eye out. What'd you get again? 21, correct?
Yeah.
You actually see kind of hiding behind one of the stumps, looks to be somewhat of a broken humanoid figure. And you see it looks to be trying to hide its shape behind one of these broken tree stumps and just keep an eye on you. The dark vision that you have, since it's relatively close, the humanoid has a really rough-looking face. A large nose that just seems to be rather squat and bulbous against the face. Very heavy-set bone line. And it looks somewhat familiar. Not half-orcish. Definitely not a Goliath. Looks to be something.
How far is it from the camp? Roughly.
Maybe about 50 feet.
You say Vault this contemplates, though he does, let me check. Else. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna cast a firebolt in the general direction, intending to hit the snow as a warning shot to the
Okay.
creepy stalker thing.
Go ahead and make me an attack roll.
No, this is not hitting it, it's just shooting near it to try to scare it off.
Yeah, I know. And I want to see how accurate you're going to be because you're shooting in its general area. Are you going to hit what you're
19.
not aiming at? Or are you. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you point out and the small spark of light ignites through the dark night. And you just watched it sails onward and strikes into the stump beside the creature. And you do see as the creature eventually, like, very quickly pops up and starts quickly making its way back down the hill.
He wants to see like where it's going. Is it going towards the camp?
You can't really tell. Remember, dark vision only carries 60 feet. Unless you want to keep following him, you don't know. And it's not particularly bright out tonight either.
Better to be safe than sorry, then he just remains on a watch. But he is always just having the cantrip ready in case.
Okay. As day dawns, and the rest of you awaken, all spell slots are returned, hit points, hit dice, they are reset. All exhaustion points are set to nil as well.
All right. Hi, Adam, Clyde, we're on. We should be heading off now. There was something watching us at night, but I managed to scud it off.
Zorm comes over. You see, I told you there was something wrong.
Well, it didn't look like one of the snow biting, that snow killing or killing creature that we met back in the north of the Ember Forest. So, unlike before, this one probably has more ill intent. Looked like a broken human from what I could see.
Hmm,
But
interesting.
let us cross this river and hopefully just chart our cart um back to White Ridge. Then let's just head back to Port Ivy. Been far too long since we've been gone, and apparently we've been gone for 5 days, so we're even have a less time.
Alright. As the conversation continues, Zorm just keeps an eye over as you guys hear the familiar sound of Rowan eating a loaf of bread. You hear he tears a piece of it off and munches on it very loudly.
um, Adam, Clyde, you two awake?
What?
Uh, I am.
Good. But then I guess they continue on without much trouble.
Not much trouble that you can tell. Yeah. Finishing the last closing distance, as it takes just about a half of the rest of the day. You make your way down towards the river, and the encampment gets closer and closer. Eventually, you do see a couple of figures come out of the encampment, maybe about 500-600 yards away from you. And they do look armored and armed. The skin tone that you can see, or at least on their flesh, looks to be a dull reddish brown. The hair that they have is kind of pulled back into a tight top knot, and those that you can't see the head of are currently clad in a helmet. These guys look to be wearing a pretty decently made plate armor.
Mm-hmm.
The four figures that come out to greet you as you make your way down, one of them does carry a banner. The banner itself looks to be a field of gray with what looks to be two crossed swords over the head of a crown.
Would this be in any relation to any of the recent banners that we've seen from the dead orcs and other
No.
creatures?
No.
No. All right.
The little quote-unquote honor guard that comes out to greet you. As they get closer and closer and you come to, you do see that these aren't orcs. These are hobgoblins. And they hail you. Hold!
Wallace would, of course, step forward. Greetings, thou. And he's speaking common, I presume.
Yeah, you speaking in common.
Who might you be? And
Master at arms for this camp. Who are you?
just some humble travelers looking to get across the river. No more, no less.
Humble travelers, you say?
Indeed.
Have no business in this area. Be off!
We just simply intend to cross the river so that
Hold
way
on.
we can make our way back home.
Cross it in a different area. I
Clyde-
said, be off.
Clyde would speak up. Do you know of a different place that we can cross safely?
Yes, somewhere else.
Can you point us in the direction?
I've already told you twice. I will not restate myself again.
Somewhere else isn't exactly.
Clyde. It's clear that they just want us to be away from this place.
So the sooner we get an answer, the sooner we can leave.
A river. We could just walk down the lines. So, I have a question for you, Mr. Master at Arms. Were you the one stalking us last night, or one of your little scouts?
Hobgoblin stays silent.
I'll take your silence as a yes. I'll say this much. We'll be on our way. But, and honestly, Paulus did not look anything happy with this hobgoblin. I will not promise any safety if you send any more of your scouts towards us. Bit of a dishonored move, if you ask me, instead of just approaching us like you've done now. you have been settled and already been on our way. And this, I will attempt to intimidate this hobgoblin.
Trying to intimidate the hobgoblin. Okay,
Yep.
go for it.
It's not
I'll
gonna
allow you
end
to.
well.
No, it won't.
Got a natural 20 plus 3, so 23.
Okay. We won't kill you now. But I won't repeat myself.
Narum just turns over to Valis, and in Draconic just goes, So, if they attack us first, it's fine to kill them, right?
Just see. Well, let's look over and just nod.
Alright. And he keeps his hand on the long sword.
You put your hand on your longsword, the hobgoblins do the same.
It's been
You
there
see
for this entire conversation.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Well, then.
then I will say, and then I will repeat what I said. As your hand goes for your weapon, their hands go for their weapons. So as you approach with your hand on your weapon, they do the same.
Well, then. It kind of looks back at the group. Let's just head off and cross the river on a different side.
Well, wait, hold on. Clyde turns to the hobgoblin. How far do we have to be away from the river before we can cross it where you're okay with it?
Guys keep talking to him, and he keeps telling you to fuck off.
And we're trying to F off. However, we're trying to be like,
We could have just
okay,
walked in any
how-
direction. It's not like they
how
have
far away, like how far down the river do we have to be to where they are okay with us crossing?
You just see as the master at arms kind of puts a hand up.
Ask.
See as the master at arms puts a hand up, and you see as an arrow and lands in the ground before you guys, just about maybe 5 feet away.
I was trying to look to where the shooter came from.
You look over, and it looks like the shooter was shooting from somewhere behind the palisade.
Can I make a rough estimate of how many people are in this camp? Like, just by the sides of it?
Make me an intelligence check at disadvantage.
Got you. Intelligence plus 5. Okay, the first one is 18. The second one is 16.
I mean, in this encampment, hobgoblins, you don't know all that much about them. Really isn't much for you to know about here. Could be anywhere from 10 to 20. I don't know.
Clyde, enough talking with this individual. Let us just go off and cross somewhere else.
Clyde would nod in agreement, and as they're walking away and talking, he's just like, I was just trying to be respectful and find out where we were allowed to cross exactly, because, like, let's say there's a little tiny pathway over the river near them. Are we allowed to cross there or not?
Well, it is pretty clear, and take this as no offense, Clyde. It is clear they did not want to be respectful towards us. It took him, and as they're walking away, his tone kind of lowers to more of a whisper. Probably taking a minute till they're at least a couple feet away. Believe me, I was holding back.
No.
So let us.
Really?
Yes, really. There's very few things that, spark my own temper.
I was hoping that you could hear the sarcasm just dripping from Clyde, but apparently not.
He heard it. He's not going to go on to of it. Anyways, I guess the best thing would be probably just to move, say, like 50, maybe 100 feet, and then try to cross. It something to note: how big is this river?
One moment, I have a lot of background noise. Apologies.
That's all right.
Grape, how dare you have background noise? My goodness. No, you're fine.
This may take a while. Apologies.
I hear doggo.
Mhm.
Take 5.
right.
Alrighty.
Give me enough time to get some things to drink.
And gives me enough time to be right back for a second.
the stream there. There.
I'm still here. Sorry, just been very quiet. I mean, let's just go on. If you want to, I can mute the call. But yeah, aside from that, I mean, I guess we're just waiting for Grape to come back so we can continue.
I want to see how far we can get before, the campaign ends. I think we have like roughly another hour, half hour.
Well, we have like 40 minutes. We've been going for 120.
I wonder if we'll find the funny Mr. Magic, as I like to call in groups campaign.
Yeah, either Mr. Magic or, scarecrows.
Don't tell me about the scarecrows. I don't like them.
No one likes them, but they're gonna show up inevitably.
Yes. You just see the crow with the Thanos gauntlet. I am inevitable.
Oh no. Oh god.
It's the time to get he's got the medicine. I went and got all the stones.
I think arguably the best and worst thing at the same time that could happen is that we just run across a freaking baker and his wares on the street. Because it could lead to either a very wholesome moment of everyone just getting some bakeware and enjoying it at the side of the road, taking a bit of a reprieve, or Rowan turning into going absolutely feral. Us having to deal with it.
That is more than likely the case. Both are plausible in their own right.
I mean, this is excluding all the normal worst case shit of suddenly 300 food.
Deal with the giant orcs.
Yeah, good thing you reminded me about those. I didn't want to think about them.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. We have to deal with them at some point, but I'd like for them to not be a problem. And I wonder if we can just circumvent that entire issue. Just go back to Port Ivy and deal with our shit, and I don't know, maybe finally get back on the ship and do what we were supposed to do.
Which was? I'm sorry,
I don't
can't
know,
remember.
pirating. We were when we intending to become pirates at some fucking point.
You know what? You're right. That I completely forgot about that. We were supposed to be pirates.
The entire premise of the campaign was we met in a pirate's tavern and had a giant bar brawl that made us band together, and we had to leave. Ever since then, we arrived at Port Ivy. We've arrived at Port Ivy, and the entire issue with the ship has just been dropped.
I think I have enough money to afford a better ship too.
At this point, probably, and if we take Rowan's funds, definitely. He's filthy rich. Not only that, I guess if we get back to Port Ivy...
He's an artificer, right?
No. Rowan's a bard. If you're talking about Zoram, I don't know how much money he has.
If Zoram's an artificer...
Zoram is an artificer, yeah.
I am very tempted to see if we could develop an engine. We put it on a boat, and we stick wheels to it. We get the land speeder.
Oh my god.
You'd think this is a joke. It is far from it, my guy.
No. I believe you. This isn't a joke. This is just ridiculous.
out of all the things, I feel like it'd be the most. It makes a little more sense than what we've always came up with.
It would make a lot more sense. It would be really useful.
The
But-
Lamb Pirates.
Wow, that would be fucking scary. Imagine like a full-sized ship with cannons and all, just racing around on the land. Like, we just drive up to some random village and just start bombarding it. Like, what are they gonna do?
It's the greatest pirate I've ever seen. Just sees a freaking large galleon-sized ship just come over a hill at full fucking speed.
Jeez. That would be so fucking funny. But at some point, we'd have a fucking rival, band of pirates on the land. Imagine. Just two giant freaking galleons with, like, tons of wheels. Or, like, tank treads. I don't know.
Time to pull some Tokyo Drift tactics.
Oh, no.
You know fully that it would happen.
Yeah.
I think the real question is, how will we be able to feel it? Like, think about it. We just have some magical metal, right? We know where to get that if we want to do it in a magical sense. We could probably go to Feltrick to get more metal that could probably help contain it. The question is, what are we going to use to power it?
Apologies about that, everybody. I know it was longer than 5 minutes, but I do. Well, apparently, was something family wanted to get done and it had to be done now. So, yay. Anyway,
That's fine. We managed to distract ourselves with a bit of a concept idea.
I see. Anyway, so getting into it with what's going on, you guys say you want to try and travel to the at least 100 yards north or southward and try and cross there, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the idea, because they said, "Oh, get away from our land," and Gigantic, it's a camp we don't generally know, and that we
Well-
don't generally know how far. We were just going like an out of sight, far enough away, so that way we'd be able.
There's no out of sight. It's if you guys are 100 yards, you are just 100 yards away. They're going to see you. So, I guess I could speak as Zoran. The idea, possibly we could do, is to at least go a mile or so. So that way it puts a good distance between ourselves and, well, them.
Fair. Fine. Let us go a mile south at least. Be easier to get to Feltrick at least.
Agreed.
Alright, then.
Let's say the rest of you. Better than 100 yards, yes. I'd much rather not go next to those creatures.
Believe me, if they come near us, they're not gonna get a well-deserved welcome from me.
So what is it? What is it? So, making your way as you guys finally pull yourselves off and start heading southward, you do manage to avoid causing at least a small schism with these hobgoblins. You travel the mile southward and you keep an eye upon the river, so I'll go ahead and say, Volus, you can make me a survival check and just gauge the passability of this river.
I had a other idea in mind.
Okay, what is it?
I twin cast fly on myself and Narim.
I guess we'll just
Yeah,
carry
that'll
the
work.
others across.
Yeah, and he would probably say, "Hey, you pick up Rowan. I got Clyde. Let's just go over."
Clyde
And
would be like, "What are you talking about? Clyde's gonna take himself."
What do you
Jack.
mean? You're not swimming.
Zoram kind of waves a hand.
I was about to
I
say,
believe you've forgotten about me.
there's a fifth in our round.
Thank you so much for your confidence and
Don't worry, I'll
your
pick you
fault
up
that I'm still
immediately.
here.
If I wasn't interrupted, I would have said we first take Clyde and Rowan across first. We would come back for you together, so that way it's easier for us to carry you across without accidentally dropping you specifically in.
You see Zoram makes a soft, kind of dismissive wave. Yes, of course. You were interrupted. Yes, that's why I was left out, of course.
Believe me, I do not want to leave anyone behind in this.
Well, I believe we find ourselves at a crossing point, so
Indeed, and with that, I cast Fly on myself and Narum.
Yep. Naram's gonna go pick up Rowan. Just
I pick up Clyde.
yeah. Naram's just gonna hoist Rowan onto his
Hurry.
shoulders and just fly over.
all right. Well, you've had fly cast upon you before, so it's not an unfamiliar feeling. It's still weird when all of a sudden the gravity beneath you stops holding you. It's still kind of makes your stomach churn a little bit, but you manage to pass through it. Pushing by your innate just kind of flying and having this sensation, you grab Rowan and fly yourself over the river. The river itself is about 11, 12 feet wide. So not too impossibly large, but it's definitely one of the larger rivers around. Volus, you go ahead and grab Zoram and you fly him across. Clyde, you fly yourself across. Or are you going to try and cross another way by yourself? Clyde, I think you're muted.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I just got a very odd message and I'm not. My brain isn't computing it right at this current moment in time, so I'm kind of a little like.
Okay, then we ignore it
Lost?
for now. Then we ignore it for now and push on.
Yeah.
So, how are you going to try and cross? Are you going to do it yourself, or are you going to have somebody carry you?
I guess we'll have someone carry Clyde.
All right. So, Niram, once
Question
you
mark?
set down Rowan, you look back across and see Clyde just kind of standing there toying with their flute.
And Naram's just gonna float back over and just
No, wait, hold on. Can I wait? What are we trying to cross over right now? Because I
a
was
river.
AFK.
A
A
12
river.
foot river.
Can I charm the river into
No.
carrying me across?
No.
This
Oh,
is
Sorry,
come
this might be a
on.
fantasy
aren't in
game,
that
but this
kind of
isn't a
fantasy.
fairy tale.
Clyde, did you
Come
take my pixie weed?
on. It'd be fun.
Clyde? Did you eat some of Rowan's bread?
No.
Good, because I think that shit's probably moldy. Wouldn't trust it. Not the one that he bought recently, but you know, those other pieces.
Mm.
Come on. Hop on.
You'd hop off.
You grab onto Niram's shoulders and Niram floats you across. Volus, you stand there with Zoram. And Zoram just kind of dusts himself off and looks at you. And I guess you couldn't forget me that time since I was in your arms. Huh?
Wee.
Indeed.
As a serious conversation comes by, you just hear Clyde as they float across the river.
Anyways, let's keep trekking on. I want to at least try to get to Lake Ridge as remotely quick as possible.
Okay. So,
They travel on.
having successfully managed to cross this river as fly, but would normally take somebody about an extra day and a half to try and get across it. You guys have managed to do it through the use of magic.
Still
Yay.
sad I couldn't charm
True.
the river.
Don't
So
worry,
if
maybe
you
you'll be
took my
able to charm like some wild horses.
Clyde, did you take my pixie fruit?
Saying that is an OOC thing, buddy.
Fine. You win this time.
Even what I was about to say, if Hope doesn't call you on it, I might have to call you on it.
Hey, not everything I say has to be in character.
You sneezed on me. That was another character.
Like me sneezing, that didn't have to be in character.
All right. So, it was funny.
I'm calling you out, Grape.
I could call you out, but I'd prefer not.
Ayo.
As you have crossed the river and start making your way south along the road here is still very much so paved, cobbled stone with bits and pieces of, well, you do see the roads are lined with what look to be timbers, very seasoned wood. Bits and pieces of it are slowly starting to rot and turn away, but you do see that the road is still very much so formed along the edges of this paved pathway. So it's not difficult to walk upon. With doing so, you're able to make it to Swindmore in just about, I would say, a day and a half. It's a relatively quick travel, and once again, the roads are watched by the usual guards that are posted by some of the larger towns and cities.
Mm.
As you enter the main area of Swindmore, you notice that this really isn't much more than a large town. There's a small hamlet with what looks to be a large stone tower, pretty much not overwhelming the landscape, but it definitely looks to be some sort of a small, this is what we have to protect us sort of notion. While the tower does dominate most of the aspects of the town, you do look around and see most of the town is pretty small by any other recollection. You see that bits and pieces of it, there are only maybe about 20 buildings here. In doing so, the town itself, as you enter it, you look upon and see that most of the people in here most of them look like peasants. The usual trodden clothes covered in dirt, working hard. The fields around Swindmore are mostly to the northwest, so you guys wouldn't have come in or seen as many of them as you could have if you had just come in from the north. So, are you guys going to stay in Swindmore for a day or two, or are you guys just going to pass through?
Actually, one thing I do want to see is there any carts or noble carts are heading towards Feldrake?
Noble carts? You have a
No,
better luck of trying to
normal.
get a god to give you a cart.
Ah, okay. Then
Did you say noble or normal?
normal, like travel carts.
No.
No, okay. Um,
You're not going to find another cart. Most of the stuff around here, people don't sell to strangers. You are a stranger.
kind of looks to the rest of the party. Well, what you think? They are just quickly try to get to Feldrake as soon as possible. We did
We should get a move
twaddle.
on.
Move on. All right.
How about you,
Clyde?
Clyde?
You're not going to stay in the night. You're just going to pass through and camp.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Highly
Right.
doubt this place would even sell us horses to at least.
Most of the animals you see around here are being used for the field.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, let's just. As much as I would want to stay here, we are still pressed for time. Speaking of,
Mm.
can let's do a check to see how much time they have roughly left from where they started.
Guys, going northward from Port Ivy, you made it to Alnwick. You made it to Alnwick. So that would be, you made it here in just about, was it a day and a half? Then you made it to Sharefield, and that took you about 3 days. So you're looking at just about 4.5 days there. Then Sudfield in another 2 days. So that becomes 8. So you're looking at a week. Oldham took you about 4 days to travel. So now you're looking at 12 days. Now you got to Millstone, 3 days. So that 12 days. And the reason you're traveling so quickly is because these are paved roads and they are watched by the guards. Like this one road is the lifeline of the entire Khmer provinces. Made it to Millstone in just about, let's say, call that 3 days as well. So 12 days, give that to 15. White Ridge took you a week. So that became, that's 22. Then you had to get from White Ridge. You took the day and you stayed there for the night. So that becomes 23, I believe? 24? No, 24. Then it took you about 4 more days to sail from here on the causeway up to Black Hallows, Marin's Eve. So that's another, you're looking at a full month already. And then from Marin's Eve, it took you about another day and a half to get to Dungannon. Then it took you 2 days to get up towards the clerics. And then you spent another 4 days in the Amber Forest. So you're looking at a month and a week, I think. You guys have been away for a while.
And how much time did the Broken Reach said that we roughly had?
She didn't. She just said you guys needed to do it quickly. So, passing through Swindmore, you guys managed to make it a few miles outside of the town before you eventually have to camp as the night does set in. In doing so, sleep is difficult to come by. You're not sure why, but something about the place as you keep getting closer and closer to Feldrake is making it harder to sleep. From Swindmore to Feldrake, you're looking at just about another 4 days. In doing so, as you make it across the 2 river fords and then into the area around Feldrake, you find it is a city surrounded by hills and forest. As you get closer to it, you think you see what looks to be the very top of a dominating structure, a clock tower. One of the only ones you have ever seen. Volus, you've never seen one like this. Niram, you've never seen this. Clyde, you definitely haven't seen this. Nobody else has
Are we
either.
sure about that? Rolls dice, gets in that one. Nope. I was
But
trying to be funny.
no, I understand. But as you come across and you're coming over the hills, you see that the hills are glittering with what looks to be black iron and dusted bone. The hills of Feldrake are surrounded by corpses. Thousands of them. Everywhere you look, encompassing both sides of this hill, are corpses. Skeletons and zombies alike. Corpses of rotting flesh, disintegrating bone. Fields of them. A farm of corpses, might say. As you get closer and closer and start getting over the hill, you come across and look upon the main city of Feldrake. And city is barely what it can be called. You see as most of the buildings around it and in it are completely destroyed. The wall itself a miserable crumbling mess of strewn about towers, half held together by bits and pieces of rubble themselves. Most of the main battlements completely ruptured by some sort of siege engines long ago. And you look above and see there is no sun above Feldrake. It is consistently covered with this oppressive, cold, dead gray cloud sky. Feel the sensation of a very gentle rain that just falls upon you, one raindrop every 5-6 seconds.
This
You look.
is.
Yes.
Oh, well, I was just gonna comment. Well, this is one of the unexpectedly unwelcoming, I think. You just see his look of like pure confusion, not even just by what the clock tower was, like the state of this place. Because
But I understand, but continue the conversation as I continue the description of the city as well. You see inside the city fares no better. Buildings left and right to as far as your eye can see within the walls are destroyed. Burnt out, collapsed, or wrecked. There is very little left of Feldrake. It is a shell of what it previously was.
what in the name of the gods happened here? And he said that because he still remembers that the blacksmith mentioned that Peldrake also produced a lot of weapons.
And then you said city and he scoffed at you.
Mm,
He very nearly made fun of you for calling it a city. With
kind of,
continue.
he kind of looks the rest of the party. I guess we best be on our toes. If anything, this place looks, guess like a bad term, corrupted of something.
In doing so, as you get closer to Feldrake, you do notice that the smokestacks that you saw rising from the city doesn't seem to be burning buildings. No, it seems to be smiths. It looks to be about 4 of them, predominant, blazing infernos of smoke, puffing out like some sort of hard chimney of an industrial factory. The closer and closer you get to it, you see that in the front of this destroyed gate, that looked to have at once been some proud standing breastwork of fortification, has been brought to ruin and rubble. By what engine or by what man-made construct you have no idea. But you do see, standing in front of a small pathway that looks to have been finally cleared by whatever inhabitants are left in the city, is guarded by 2 guards, dressed in full black plate armor, with gold hinges and outlines across it. A very beautiful display of armor. And you see both of these figures are clad in very fine red velvet capes that drape across the back and then fold across into a sachet across their waist. Each are armed with a halberd. And as you get closer and closer to them, you do see as the guard on the left side hails you. Who goes? What is your business with our city?
Greetings, greetings. We are just travelers. We were looking to see if we could shot a cart down south.
Travelers have no business to the city. If you wish to proclaim a vehicle, you must find one that is already leaving.
You got knowledge that are currently leaving, or where, um, what
I
stables
do
are
not
there?
know. If you have business within the city, we will allow you in. But if you are travelers, you must stay outside.
Are there any like stables of the sort that were nearby before?
Any
Or was
what?
it just any like stables or where carts were dropped off? Trying
No.
to see if where they would have, leave for weapons.
Most of the... Actually, I can't tell you that because you wouldn't know. You have no idea. I mean, that's all I can say. You have no idea where these carts are coming or going from in Feltry. You have no idea when the next one's leaving. You have no idea when the next one's being shipped out. Or coming in, for that matter.
Mm.
The guard
Actually,
looks at you for a moment.
And great. Could I get a recap of
Yes.
what that? Because I remember that the guard or the blacksmith said something about how the metal was different. This black metal. What was that property again?
It is black steel.
Hmm.
Or black steel and black iron. The same stuff that looks to be made out of that armor. The armor is almost onyx black.
I noticed that it was that. I'm just curious of what black iron did property wise.
You have no idea.
Oh, I thought the
He
black
told you about it. No, he mentioned it. Yeah, he said it's black iron. Or black iron and black steel. But he never told you what it did. He just told you about it. And just told you it had some magical property to it. As the guard looks at you, and you see from underneath the helmet the eyes have a very soft red glow. Are you mercenaries?
I guess you could call us that. So,
Then the city might have use for you.
oh,
If you are looking for work, we will allow you to enter.
kind of looks back at Nair, Rowan, and the rest. Let's say you guys, we are.
Forgotten once again. Ouch.
He said, and the rest. What do you mean?
You named
Okay.
one of the few people of the party.
Okay, he looks directly at Clyde. Clyde, what is your thoughts on it?
Don't put me on the spot like this, man. Like, I didn't ask for this. Now what?
Well, what do you guys say? Do we hear what they have to say, or shall we just try to find other means to procure a vehicle?
Clyde would look to the others, being like, shrug.
Adam?
Zorm shrugs as well. Well, we are trying to get ourselves out.
How about we just... I'm sad to say this, I don't think we have the time. We should just move
I mean-
along.
He kind of looks back to the guard. Apologies. It seems that the first priority is to get to our destination before we openly hire ourselves. But we, if it's still open by the time once we return, we will take it on. But this
The
issue,
city of Feldrake is always in need of fresh bodies.
I see.
That doesn't
And-
sound ominous.
And warm ones, for that matter.
Uh-huh.
Very ominous.
Hmm.
If
Well,
you're looking to procure something south, follow the wall towards the southern gate. Do your best to stay close to the walls come night. Do not interrupt the dead.
very well. Now let's start group and motions them over. Brother, let's start heading there. We're already burning daylight. Thank you again,
Alright.
and he dips his head towards one of the guard that's been speaking.
The guard gives you a curt nod. In doing so, as you're looking at this just destroyed city and the destroyed walls that encompass it, the walls themselves, at one point, you can tell they held some sort of boastful intent. The white, pure stone that used to be made out of these walls, once gracious and powerful, now nothing but rubble. You come across and continue walking, following as the guard said, and every once in a while you can swear you hear the sounds of battle. Sword meeting armor, flesh being hacked apart. And you keep hearing it in the surrounding hills, for fuck's sake.
The dogs of war
No, it
cry out.
added to it. Great.
I don't care, he still needs time to be quiet.
It added to it.
But in doing so, you follow your eyes, and I'll say it's actually pretty easy to see. You guys don't need to roll perceptions. But looking around, you see that the corpses are not just corpses. The rotting flesh of the zombies and skeletons seem to, every once in a while, they rise once again, clad in their armor and weapons. And you'll see a skeleton will fight skeleton, hacking each other apart to pieces. Zombie tearing another zombie apart. A vile display of just diabolical violence. But they never interrupt you. As you can see their silhouettes and figures dancing amongst the hills in combat, they never bother you. And that is probably the most eerie portion of this. To the southern gate, once you eventually arrive, it's getting dark. You see that lights start very cautiously start igniting along the edges of the walls, almost like street lights. As you round one of the large bends in this wall, you find the main southern gate, destroyed much like that one to the east. You see it hails many more guards than that to the east. 6 instead of 2. And you see around them is a kaleidoscope of buildings, destroyed and otherwise. It looks to be a mixture of what looks to have been some sort of old tavern, long since run down and destroyed. You see burnt out houses of what seem to have been some sort of peons living. You find the destroyed remains of what look to be some sort of blacksmith shops, where the forge has been completely ruptured, the old bellows sitting there silent. And the guards eventually look over towards you, and they seem to recognize the area you're coming from. And the next one that speaks to you, once again, see clad in black plate armor. not an inch of skin showing. The only thing you can see of any sort of humanity is the soft red glow of the eyes underneath the helmet. The next shipment should be leaving in just about a day. You may take refuge within one of the buildings should you like. I would recommend so, as it's becoming dark.
Thank you. Yes, all well said. He navigates around what were the states of the buildings, assuming they're all like broken, battered, and stuff like that.
Conditions of the buildings destroyed. Other than that, from most of what's here, there really isn't much. But again, as I did say, there is what looks to have been an old destroyed tavern. It's not too destroyed. It looks like it's been run down for a while. Most of the windows are missing. There's a large hole about the size of a troll that's just kind of plowed through one wall. But it looks habitable enough. It has a roof.
I guess so. It's towards the rundown tavern.
In doing so, as the rest of you, I believe, follow suit, yes?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. You walk into the creaking wood and musty smell of this rundown tavern. You hear the echoing laughs and calls, jeers and clanking tavern, just the usual sounds. And you look around and you can almost swear you see ghastly outlines of what a memory long lost. It seems Feldrick has a lot of these. And as you look through this and start gently setting up a campsite, not wanting to trust any of the beds, that's what will end today's session.
Eerie.
Feldrick is my pride and joy. But as we end tonight's session, I will go ahead and say hello to all of you on Twitch. We hope you enjoyed. I know there really wasn't much. It was much more of a traveling session. I do apologize for the long pause that took there. But, well, family, am I right? Other than that, I do hope, again, that you enjoyed. And perhaps you got a kick out of it as much as we did. If you might be so gracious, we could always ask that you drop a follow so you might understand or be able to catch on to whenever we're streaming just about every Saturday. We start normally about every 2 o'clock to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 to 8:30 Central European.
Yep.
But with that, you can also go ahead and find out where this party has started from over on a Discord and YouTube. From the Discord, you'll be able to find out when Behemoth will be streaming, and the playlist for YouTube will show you just about how this intrepid adventuring party kicked off.
And how it's changed over the course of a year.
Yeah, we've been at this for a while at this point.
But with that, I will go ahead and say I will pass it over to Behemoth, as per usual, and let him round off today.
Yep.
Ciao.
Thank you very much. Okay. Sorry for the long delay. We've had to deal with technical issues in the beginning, and it's always fun, isn't it? But yeah, I don't really have much else to announce. I guess feel free to show up next week if you're willing to. And take care.